Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Do you guys have any night shift stories? I got one. Be me, 18 years old, this summer. I worked the third night shift at my summer job. Be alone in the factory that night because my coworker is ill. No problem. I know what to do. About 2:30 a.m. I go upstairs in the break room to drink some water and have a cig. Short info. I'm from Austria, and as you may know, we got some Syrian refugees in the country. Suddenly hear loud knocking at the entrance door downstairs. Doesn't stop. Go down, thinking some drunk assholes are being cool. Open the door. Already started yelling that they should leave. WTF, some old man standing there. Looks Middle Eastern. Probably a refugee. Looks very old. Long gray beard. I ask him if he needed anything. Starts speaking a language I don't understand. I tell him I don't understand. Makes a drinking motion with his hands. Guess he wants some water. Tell and gesture to him that he should stay where he is. I'll get him some water. He nods. Walk upstairs, grab my full water bottle, turn around to go back down. Heart, Exy has stopped working. He stands right behind me, looking scared. I give him the bottle and tell him to get the hell out. He runs downstairs fast as hell like he stole something. Didn't think he could run this fast. He looked like 65. Go back down to close the door and lock it. Suddenly hear the door to the production hall slam. Oh no. Didn't lock it when I went up. Spend about an hour looking for this dude. BC, I thought he still was there, and I got paid for it. So why the hell not? Always hear strange noises like coughing and footsteps, but couldn't see him. It's not a really big factory, not many places to hide. After 2 hours, the weird sounds stopped. I worked about 10 more night shifts in this company, and every night I was there, I could sometimes hear the noises. Co-workers never found anything out. I don't know if he is still there. PIC-related, one of the rooms in the production hall.
I'm from Austria as well. I don't have any personal stories, but a relative of mine works as a security guard and has a few interesting ones. Be him. Taking night shifts at a gas drilling facility right in the middle of the forest. Normally shifts are distributed evenly. Not here, nobody has ever done a second one. They still get enough new people. Because of our LOL, let's ruin the economy government. On the first and second night, nothing happens, which is rather odd. On the third night, the shift starts at 9 p.m. Workers leave at 10 p.m. 10:30 p.m., the bell at the main entrance rings. He checks the entrance. Nothing.jpg. Goes back to the container and checks the videotape, because he thinks it was some worker messing with him. Last worker left at 10:20 p.m. Nobody was at the gate at 10:30 p.m. The same thing happened 4 times that night. He continued working the night shift. It happens over and over again. Biggest problem was, the night shift is so boring. You'll always end up watching movies or playing video instead of watching the cameras because everything is fitted with motion sensors anyway.
My grandmother works as a custodian for a law office. Sometimes I help her. She had told me that she doesn't like being there alone, that she thinks the place is haunted. I didn't believe her until one night. When you walk in, there are restrooms immediately to the left and a door that leads to an office on the right. We call this room the green room because of its green carpet. Past the green room is a small kitchen. In front of the entrance is a door leading to C&C law offices. There is a hallway that has 2 more restrooms and a door to another office. The hallway connects to the kitchen. My grandmother decides to mop the restrooms to the left of the entrance while I take out the trash in C&C in the kitchen. As I take out the trash in C&C, I start to take out the trash in the kitchen. I'm wearing headphones, listening to a podcast as I work, but as I empty the trash in the kitchen and get ready to put a new bag into the can, I hear what sounds like a young girl say something in a sing-song voice. I hear it right in my ears. I freak out and finish as fast as I can. I go to my grandmother, who is still mopping the restrooms, and ask her if she had called out to me. She says no and asks if I heard something. I tell her what you heard, and she confirms that she also heard a woman. We both heard that sound at the same time in 2 different parts of the building. I was spooked. So we continue working. She goes to mop the restrooms in C&C while I sit down for a few minutes by the door that leads out into the lobby. As I sit, I keep listening to the same podcast. A few minutes in, I hear scraping sounds like someone clawing at a door, like someone clawing at the same door I'm sitting next to. I get up and open the door. Nothing there. Not even a scratch on the door. I close the door and sit back down. Not even 5 minutes later, I hear what sounds like heavy breathing, almost panting, right next to me. There is nothing next to me. Check behind the desk that's also there. Nothing. I sit back down and try not to pay attention to the breathing. It eventually stops. What the hell? Also, a few days after this, I'm in the office that's connected to the hallway in C&C. I never liked this office. I always feel watched when I'm in it. As I'm taking out the trash in this office, I hear the voice again, except it isn't in a sing-song kind of voice. Instead, it's like a quick whisper. I think, ah shit, not this again. I finish up in that room, and as I'm leaving, I have to turn out the lights. As I leave the now dark room, I swear I hear shuffling behind me as the door shuts, like something was starting to move around inside. Screw that room. Another small thing to note recently is that my grandmother heard a knock followed by a bang on the restroom door in C&C while she was cleaning it. I was upstairs at the time, and we are supposed to be the only people there. A few days ago, we were both upstairs and heard a door slam shut downstairs. I went to look, but everything was locked, as we left it. No one could have opened one of the doors to slam it even if they wanted to.
Be me working night to closing shift at the local gym as the dumb janitor. We boot people out around 12 a.m., and the managers usually wait for me until 1 a.m. to lock up. This night was a bit empty and a bit of a shitstorm. There was a fatal accident not even half a kilometer away from us. Heard sirens all night and the road was congested. Doing my rounds, stopping at the daycare room hoping to talk to the cutie coworker and help her clean up. She left early and left the kids' mess for me to clean up. Do the usual sweeping and mopping up. Finish the job and crack open the back door, hold it open with a brick and go to the bush a few meters away where I always poured the mop water. Gym was pretty ghetto for being a premium gym. Hear the door squeak and shut as I'm pouring out the water. Well, great. As I circle around to the front entrance, I notice in the darkness that there's a gnarly-ass dark red trail on the asphalt. It's gotta be a ton of blood to be noticeable in the dark on the black asphalt. Weird. Get to the entrance and knock on the door to get the manager's attention. Those assholes would just sit in the lobby, chill and talk while I cleaned up the whole gym. They let me in and I tell them that I got locked out by accident. Also mention that we might want to take a look out in the parking lot because there's a titload of blood out there. Bring the mop bucket back. Start locking up the janitor's closet when I hear someone moving around in the men's change room. There should only be 4 people in this building right now and 3 were upstairs. Some gym rat must be screwing around in there. Get to the men's change room and there's nobody there. Spooked, grab my wrench, as if it's going to save me. Open each and every locker, look in each stall, poke around in the sauna, open every shower curtain, and nothing. As I walk back, notice a few drops of blood on my clean-ass floor. Nope out of there and tell bosses to call the cops. Nothing found.
I work at a theater as a projectionist. Had the old-school projectors with the 3 platters. I mainly work upstairs in a darkened room by myself. One night, while Iron Man 2 was playing, I went to the bathroom. Open the door and lock it behind me to stop curious kids or whatever from getting in. I get down the stairs and the door behind me violently opens. The door slams against the wall and makes a big whap sound. Run back up. The projector is all sorts of messed up. The film is unwinding off the platters and the projector is jammed. The film starts to burn because the lamp is uber hot. Had to cancel the movie that night. Wonder what the hell happened. Still spooked to this day.
Ghosts can't stand Iron Man 2 either.
Be me. A friend lives next to the graveyard. We like to sneak out at night and explore, smoke, talk. One night, we find a dug grave, climb down, smoke inside. It's warm inside because it's 6 feet into the earth. Climb out, and the caretaker sees us pulling each other out. The sun is coming up. He gets mad but can't do anything, so we run off, sneak back home, and go to sleep. 2 days later, we go back to smoke in the grave because it's spooky and comfy. It's filled. Grass is growing. It's been filled for a long time. Argue about it for a bit because we can't figure it out. The caretaker sees us and storms over. We don't run because we're too confused. Tells us he's mad because he doesn't want us to get hurt. He isn't worried about us vandalizing things, but that we shouldn't go into them when they're like that. We don't get what, in the good goddamn he's saying, just sort of appreciate his concern until he says, They open back up again sometimes. Don't be down there in them when they do, because they'll be the same as they were when the sun comes up, whether you're in them or not. Never climb into an open grave again. We still tell people about the crazy cemetery drunk, but we leave out the part about the grave because we start arguing about what happened that night, down in the warm earth, before the sun came up.
Not sure if it's really in /X/ thing, but whatever. Be me. 19. Working as delivery driver for a sub shop that stayed open until 4 a.m. At night, get a call to deliver a sandwich to the steel mill outside town. Get calls from workers there sometimes. Just drop off at the guard station and come back. Easy. This order comes with instructions. Park in the parking lot and call so-or-so, whatever .jpg. Dude probably just wants to come get his own food for whatever reason. Get out there, park, and call the customer. Dude doesn't answer. Just hangs up after I say hello, into my phone a couple times. Wait a few minutes inside the car. Suddenly, a beat-up old-ass van pulls into the parking lot and parks on the other side of the lot. Dude in a heavy coat with a hood up over his head gets out and walks over. It's dark and the shadow from his hood blocks my view of his face. Creepy dude takes his bag, pays for his food and walks back to his van, gets in the back and drives off. I leave to go pick up the next delivery.
Even creepy dudes get hungry. At least he ate a sandwich and not your soul.
My question though, why the parking lot? I mean, I delivered to a lot of creepy people. Had one guy that regularly ordered from us but never answered his door. Always ordered around 1 a.m. At the same time 2 of his friends would come to check on him. They'd always pay for and take the food in for him. So why the cloak and dagger for a shitty sandwich?
In that sandwich lied a conspiracy most heinous beyond most's reckoning.
Working the closing shift at a gas station, alone. I only have about 5 minutes more to get through, in the process of locking the door, when a guy, mid-20s, shoots through the door, jabbering something about something chasing him and gonna rip him to shreds. I usually bring my German Shepherd with me for close shifts. Sarge is hella protective and huge. I get the door shut just in time before something canine and black slams against the door. I catch a glimpse of yellowed dog teeth. Sarge is right next to me in a flash, snarling at what is now just darkness, his hackles raised. Dude is gibbering foolishness in the back of the store, and I go ask him what was going on. For context, we are a couple miles from shops or housing. He claims he'd felt followed leaving the bar, so he ended up running, hiding, panicking, and was confused as hell about how he got here. Call the cops. They come and check it out. Find nothing, but they give us both a ride home. Sarge started patrolling the house every night before falling asleep pretty much on top of my wife and I. Thankful as all hell that I'm done with that job.
I guess 24-hour shifts count as night shifts. Be me, 22-year-old intern in a hospital. Nighttime about 2 a.m. Just downed my first coffee of the night and about my second Coke can. Almost finished paperwork. No more patience for the night. Suddenly see a guard running past my office. A few minutes later, another guard. Stop him and ask him what the hell was going on. Most of the guards were lazy at that time of the night, so it was creeping me. He tells me they have an unknown person roaming the hospital. A young adult, pale, red-headed woman dressed in old clothes woke up a nurse asking for a relative. Then when the nurse looked away to check her records, vanished without a trace on a long hallway with no place to hide. The guards were searching the hospital in case there was a dangerous person inside, but they were spooked. Go check on my patients. No sudden deaths or weird stuff on my floor. Go back to finish my paperwork and get to sleep for about 2 hours. Quite boring because I didn't witness it, but hospitals always have weird stuff going on. Lucky mine was newish, so it hasn't piled up yet.
Did they ever find her?
Not a single trace. Other highlights were that at least one intern heard screams coming from empty rooms, a ghostly nurse that appears in almost any hospital to help a patient while everyone else was busy, and my favorite, a small disabled child that died of leukemia and sometimes is seen playing in the waiting room at 3 a.m., asking where the other children are, because pediatrics moved to other building. Never seen those ones personally, but co-workers had.
On the night shift right now. One time. Be female working as a night auditor. Hanging out, browsing, etc. Fire alarm for one of the buildings starts going off. Silence the alarm and suit up to go out into the freezing cold and inspect the situation. Call the room. No answer. Check occupancy. No one in the room. Grab the master key. Go to the room in question. Everything seems normal. Decided to go back to the office, reset the fire alarm, and resume chilling. 5 minutes later, security shows up and is like, "Yeah, we found this crazy homeless guy hiding in the building in question." Proceed to be spooked for the rest of the night. Creepy hotel vibes.
I am a medical intern too for 1 year as per my university rules. Let me tell you some stories about my hospital. My hospital has 3 main buildings. The emergency building where we receive and triage patients. The old tower where hospitalized patients used to be. Internal medicine and surgery along with some other services have moved to the new tower and left their floors empty a couple of months ago. OBGYN, pediatrics, and some other services remain here. The new tower, built to be a subspecialty building, along with the outpatient services, hosts some patients as of now. The old tower, however, has some weird things going on that /X/ might find interesting. If you are interested, I can tell you some of them. So I spend my night there every 4 days. I worked at the internal medicine and the surgery services when they were still hosted at the old tower, so I know those floors perfectly well. They are empty now. There are just some abandoned furniture and papers scattered around the medical offices. However, one can still go there since lights are still turned on every night, and there is no real way to close off the entire floor. Now I'm curious, and a couple of the people I work with, who fortunately I can call friends, are too. So we decided to look for the scares. Nurses and maintenance employees are very talkative about that kind of thing, so it's easy to overhear some stories. The first one I heard took place on the 6th floor, where general surgery hospitalization used to be. They spoke about a little girl appearing at night at the very end of the aisle where the doors to all rooms are. So a friend of mine and I decided to go and check that out. Maybe we could get a little scare. We basically finished our work for the night and left to get some sleep. We had decided to rest at the old tower rather than the new one, even though there wasn't any place to do so anymore. We were stationed at the emergency building, so we had to go outside first to get into the old tower. I don't know if my friend noticed, because I never asked really, but if you looked from the outside to the windows on the 6th floor, you could notice the lights flickering very fast as if they were malfunctioning. We arrived at the 6th floor and grabbed a couple of blankets to lie on and sleep. It was maybe 4 a.m. We went into the office and made ourselves comfortable. She lied down and decided to sleep instead of going exploring. So I went out of the office and into the hallway. Rooms numbered 1 to 38 each, hosted 4 beds when they were full. Now they were empty and dead. There was no noise. When the service was active, one could hear the monitors going crazy because of someone going into bradycardia and the respirators pumping air into the lungs of the dying patients. Now it was just silence. The hallway lights were on. However, the rooms were pitch black. Not even the flickering lights I had seen from the outside. All doors were closed and the windows were shut. I walked past the nurse's office looking for the farthest room where the girl was supposed to appear. I reached the end of the aisle, stood for a minute waiting to hear something. Small steps, maybe a childish giggle. Nothing. Of course there would be nothing. Why would I think of something else? I started turning to go back to the office when a noise made my blood run cold. One of the damn doors was opening, the goddamn sound of old hinges moving. I turned to look, but the door slammed right back. I ran as fast as I could to the office where my friend was sleeping. Part of me wanted to leave, but curiosity was stronger, so I just closed the door and lied on the ground and slept. We woke up to one of our cell phone alarms. The sun was already out. I told my friend what had happened. Obviously, she hadn't heard anything. I took her to the room where the door had opened, but when she tried to open it, it was locked. To my knowledge, no one else had gone into that floor that night. There's nothing there for anyone anymore, and no one knew we were there either. I just went there one more time since then to retrieve some papers we could use downstairs. Hospitals are good places to get scared.
Walking home from closing up because my bike tire popped earlier that day. Only around 6 blocks to my apartment anyway. I'm not a very physically imposing person. I have a small but wickedly sharp knife on me. Walking in the street so people can't jump out from behind a parked car without me seeing them or something. See another guy shambling and shuffling down the middle of the street under a street light. Oh boy. Once I see him, it becomes apparent that he's definitely walking towards me. Keep walking straight. Don't acknowledge him. Once he's about 10 feet away, he starts muttering. Ben. Hey. What do we do with the rest of him? Ben. Don't say shit and just keep walking, thanking every name under the sun that I didn't just get stabbed or have to stab somebody.
I worked security at a grocery store for several years. We had a fellow named Bill that worked there. One night on the way to work, Bill was killed in a car accident. He was on his way to pick up his engagement ring to give to his girlfriend. It really shook the store up. Anyway, not too long after the accident, a lot of strange things started happening in the evening when Bill would have been on shift. The big metal freezer door opened by itself. Freezer aisle doors opening and closing by themselves. Real weird stuff, you know. We had an employee walk through the back room and witness a stack of 2-liter soft drinks launch themselves across the room. This was caught on camera. Then things got kinda dark. Maybe he's just trying to describe what it felt like. In the moment, maybe it seemed like time slowed down. The seconds felt like hours is a common literary trope. But then upon regaining consciousness, he figured it must have only lasted a few seconds. I mean, he's probably lying, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just not very good with explaining this sort of thing. I was walking the floor one night when I heard a scream come from the produce cooler. I ran in thinking someone hurt themselves, only to find the employee standing there white as a ghost. I asked him what happened, and he proceeded to tell me that as he was washing dishes and cleaning up for the night, he glanced out the back door window, which led to the back room, and said he saw Bill staring back at him. I tore through the door and searched everywhere but could find no one. We checked the cameras and saw no one. But this dude was legit scared to death. He insisted I stay in produce until his shift was finished. I did, and there was no other incident that evening. Sorry if this isn't making sense. It happened several years ago and I'm trying to remember things in the correct order. So a few days after the initial produce incident, I was asked to stay around that area more than the others. Try to make the employees feel better about whatever was happening. So I hung out in produce with the salad makers. One night I was back there with 2 employees towards the end of their shift. It had been quiet for a week or so, and things had sort of returned to normal. We were joking around when we heard a roll cart move from inside the cooler, and then a loud crash. We opened the door to find that nothing was out of place. I won't lie, this one freaked me out the worst. We had all heard a loud calamity and yet nothing had moved. The last incident I was a part of before I found a better job involved me and the new security guard I was training. It was her first day on the job and things went smoothly. She did fine. As we were closing up the store, I was counting customers to make sure we were empty. I counted the last one, locked the door, and returned to the manager desk to report out. Newbie tells me there is still one more customer. Nah, I watched them all leave. She tells me she saw a guy walk into the back room of the store. I asked her why she didn't stop him, and she said she didn't want to go after him alone. Fair enough. We go to the back, and of course there is no one there. I asked if she was sure, and she insisted. We went to the front and watched the cameras. Nothing. I pulled a picture out of the manager's desk and asked her if this is who she saw. She said yes. I told her what had happened to Bill. She quit the next day. And that is my creepy experience as a security guard in small-town Indiana.
Why be a security guard?
It was a minimum wage job. Just something to do until a better one comes along. No need to take any real risk.
Well, first time I'll be posting on /x/ in ages. Work at a factory, operate loud as hell machinery. These machines virtually run by themselves, so you can walk away and go eat, use the restroom, etc. Work the night shift, me and 2 other guys, Fernie and Victor. Victor has a small radio that he'll listen to through the night. He's a bit off, always shouting nonsense, it's just his thing. One night around 3 a.m., Fernie and I are running a machine adjacent to one another. Victor is 20 feet away, roughly on another machine to our left. Hear a distinct, "Hey!" come from Victor's direction. Glance over. He's not there. Leave my machine to investigate. Look around, and nothing. His radio was turned down and his machine was stopped. Then see Victor exiting the restroom 50 feet away, to the right of Fernie and I's position, totally opposite of where we heard the shout. We asked Victor about it. He had been dropping a deuce for 15 minutes prior. Our faces when. Other guys on the other 2 shifts swear up and down that the shop's haunted, hearing pans dropping from 3 feet high shelves when there's no one out in the shop, seeing guys in white suits by the fire exits that vanish when the person who saw them does a double take, weird feels, etc. They're all primarily Catholic and very superstitious, so who knows?
Not greentexting. I used to work for Kodak back in 2013. I was part of a project involving the scanning and digitization of farming-related documents. Permits, deeds of property, maps detailing farming properties, letters, etc., dating back to the mid-1800s. Was a very boring job because, being a graphic designer, I was put in charge of checking and restoring all digital copies of the documents in order to make them suitable for online publishing. I had a night shift from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. 4 days a week. The building I worked in was a large storehouse, which used to be a factory before that. This place was a 3-story decaying ruin plagued with roaches and mice, awfully hot during the summer and freezing during the winter. A hellish place where only like 10 people worked during the night shift. Weird things happened there. The always present feeling of being watched, cold spots among the file shelves, people watching shadows in the corner of the eye, a hallway which always smelled like rotten eggs after midnight, things falling off desks, etc. Around late September, shit got scary. During the last week, a girl came running to the computer room, crying and saying something had growled at her while she was stacking boxes in a shelf. The security guard assigned to the night shift came up, thinking it was a cat or a raccoon that somehow made its way inside the building and nested among the boxes in the upper shelves. He found nothing. The girl was sent home in a cab because she was very disturbed about the growl and quit a few days later. Some other warehouse workers began complaining about being touched on the shoulder, hearing people going up and down the emergency stairs outside of the warehouse, very cold spots in the further aisles, and the smell of rotten eggs coming from the hallway becoming unbearable. Reported it to the supervisor, who in turn talked with the boss. The boss dismissed it and told everyone to get back to work. By mid-October, even those assigned to the computer room started seeing weird stuff. One night, I was editing scanned pages in Photoshop when I suddenly caught sight of something behind the computer screen, like someone standing in the corner of the room, hiding behind a big-ass scanner. Look up. See nothing. I started feeling uneasy because I saw the same thing several times between 2 to 5 a.m. 2 nights after that, I was chilling during a lunch break with a coworker. It was around 1 a.m. and we were watching TV in the kitchen while dining. As we were talking about movies, the kitchen door slams open. Stay frozen because there was no way that was normal. My coworker complained to the supervisor, who just shrugged and said he would talk to the boss and see what was going on, but couldn't promise anything better than that. As usual, the boss said it was probably someone pranking us, and that he would ask the security guard to check the surveillance tapes in order to find who did it. Neither my coworker nor I knew what happened or who opened the door. Just a week before Halloween, I was changed to the early shift because the complaints about weird shit going on were too much, and the boss decided to say, fuck it. One day, the coworker from the kitchen experience comes up to me and had this "I told you" expression on his face. Then he tells me about a little chat he had with an old cleaning lady during lunch. My coworker started talking about the unexplainable things happening in the night shift, and the old lady just said, "Old Roman always starts getting angry in October." Turns out Old Roman was a worker during the mid-'80s, back when the building used to be a nail factory. According to the story told by the old lady, Roman was the skinny, tall bro who always came up drunk to work, picked up fights, and generally acted like an asshole to everyone on the factory floor. One day, Roman has a heart attack during the night shift and dies in the same room where the warehouse is located now. The bloke had no family outside of an ex-wife, and by the time of his death, was pretty much a hobo jumping from bar to bar when off work. The damn building was haunted by a very pissed drunk ghost. And we got lucky because older workers said Roman was very aggressive and even had attacked a few people over the years.
Be working at Aaron Brothers. Come in at midnight to stock inventory from the truck. Work usually until 4 or 5 a.m. with 1 to 2 other people. I work in Los Angeles County. During the shift, we usually open the back door to put cardboard out there because in the morning a dude collects it to recycle. Also sometimes open it up to go take trash to the dumpster. Leave it closed most of the time because we're supposed to, and because homeless folks are sometimes sitting around back there. The back door is open. Go out carrying a barrel of plastic to throw in the dumpster. The door opens outward and there's a small area behind the door, opposite the direction of the dumpster, that leads nowhere. As I am coming back to the door, I hear a rustling sound in one of the trees behind the door, peer around the door. It's dark, but I keep hearing the sound. Watch for a bit and see what appears to be a person walking on the stone wall at the end of the area. Tree foliage obscures his activities, appears to walk around the building on the wall, and the sound stops. Nothing ever comes of it. A month later, I found out an old man was murdered in his house 2 blocks away around the time I was working that shift. I almost died, guys.
These 2 stories are pretty unexciting, but I haven't actually posted on /x/ for so long. I decided I'd contribute. I work at a music school, and one of the things we can do is rehearse with our bands whenever. So even though I wasn't working during this first one, it seemed like a good story. Greentext to make it less wordy. Be practicing with a bandmate. Like maybe 1 or 2 a.m. maybe. We had been there quite a while at this point. Bandmate stops to talk through some chord progressions. I hear talking from a room outside ours. "Do you hear that?" She gets quiet. "Yeah, totally." "Is someone here? It's really late for another rehearsal to be happening. This is really weird." We rush out of the main rehearsal room and look around. Motion-activated lights are on. I still hear voices. Go through every room and no one else is in the school. Both of us kind of spooked. And a band practice for the night. Story 2, maybe like a month and a half later, was going to work 2 incredibly long shifts that weekend and had been working like crazy that week. I needed to program a keyboard for the school though, like I promised my boss I would do. He needed it like the next day. I thought it best to just stop by the school on my way home from my other job. I get there at like 11:45 p.m. Go into the room, start programming and making the synth sound he needs, blah blah blah. Be an hour later because I made the setting and forgot to save it and had to start again. Ugh. See ya, yet again motion-activated light goes off down the hall. I get a little uncomfortable but don't think much of it. Feel breath on my neck like someone standing behind me. Turn around. Suddenly hear loud bangs on every wall happening one after the other, on opposite walls. Started like the wall in front of me, the wall behind me, the wall on the left, then the wall on the right. Finished up and left.
I work at a 24-hour psychiatric crisis center. I'm at work right now. Had a manic lady come in acting extremely bizarre. Wants to be checked in 1 minute, then decides she wants to leave. This shit goes on for like 45 minutes when I finally tell her to stay or GTFO. Just make up your mind. She decides to leave. Except she does not leave. She sits in her car in the parking lot for the next 3 hours smoking cigarettes. I keep walking to the window and looking out the blinds to see if she has left. About 3 a.m. I hear noise. I decided to conveniently take out some trash to the dumpster that is all the way across a large parking lot. I want to see what this crazy lady is up to. I step out the door and discover she has taken her jeans off and left them right in front of the door, but she is back in her car. I leave the pants and start walking the trash out to the dumpster. She starts the car up and begins to slowly follow me. If I weaved left, she would follow me, then the same to the right. She chased me all over the parking lot, not running me over, just following me. I ended up running between our building and the one next door to get away. I have to walk the long way around the building. I hear her get out of the car, then back in the car and haul ass, screeching tires and all. I get back to the front door and the pants are gone. I thought she was going to run me over.
Working as Domino's delivery driver in night shift. It's near 1 a.m., going out for a delivery. The instructions on the ticket say to come to the garage door instead of the front door. The house is in a sketchy place with no neighbors. Go around to the garage, which is in the back for some reason. No lights on anywhere. Have to turn on the phone flashlight. Walk into the garage. There's a doorbell next to the door, which is weird. Press the doorbell. The garage door starts closing behind me. Nope out of there and sprint away before the door shuts me in. Wait a bit. Nothing happens, so I go knock on the front door. No answer. Call the customer. No answer. Decide to leave. Get in the car. About to drive away. Look at the house, face in the window watching me.
This may be a bit odd, but aside from my normal boring job, trust administration, woo, I'm sort of an unofficial house sitter for people in the neighborhood. I'm big and fairly tough, honest and reliable, so folks will throw me some money and I'll park my ass in their place while they're out of town. The area is fairly safe, but I always go armed. No sense meeting a group of angry folks with nothing but my fists, right? Staying at an outbuilding on neighbor's property, keeping an eye on the main home. At 2:16 a.m., I remember the time specifically. Hear thumping from the main house like someone banging on multiple walls. It's go time. Grab a flashlight and handgun. Outbuilding is about 30 feet from the door to the kitchen. See no movement, no lights, noise stopped. We must go deeper. Enter the kitchen through the door. Look down the length of the room. See someone standing at the far end about 20 feet away. Vague shape, very tall, filled the doorway. Switch on the flashlight, shout, "Hey!" As soon as the light comes on, it feels like someone injects my head with 160 dB of tinnitus. Drop flashlight and gun. Scramble around for what felt like hours. The noise won't stop. Finally stops. Felt like it was never there. No lingering sensation of anything but fear. Flashlight is broken into multiple pieces spread across the room. Gun is at the other end of the kitchen. There is one bullet on the counter. Kitchen is empty. I checked the clock afterwards, and I was in the kitchen for 32 minutes. No idea what the fuck that was, and I don't want to know. I didn't sleep that night or the other nights. Nothing else happened after that, but I'm fairly surprised I didn't shit myself. I told the owners, and they had no clue. Not going back there again, though.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentexts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.